Hello! Today we're going to continue our unit on evolution. I'm going to start off first by talking a little bit about the history of how the term evolution came about and about the important men that kind of helped this field. We're going to first start off with Darwin. We call Darwin the father of evolution. He was the guy who referred to evolution as descent with modification, and he wrote a book called The Origin of Species. Well, a little background about him. He was an Englishman. He lived from 1809 to 1882. When he was in his 20s, he did go to medical school and law school, but he didn't like either of them. He really enjoyed taking long nature walks. That kind of excited him a little bit more. Well, at 22, he was asked to join the HMS Beagle. This was a British survey ship that was kind of used to make voyages of scientific discovery. And it was a 5 year around the world voyage. All right. So he began to collect and study and store different specimens of the ocean's marine life. He also collected fossils and studied the land environments off the coast of South America. During the voyage, he did read Charles Lyell's book on how changes occur over time. So Lyell was the one who wrote Principles of Geology, and the whole thing was the natural forces gradually changing the Earth's surface. And that's what really helped Darwin understand the Earth's changes. He really kind of fell into the Galapagos Islands on the 1830s, and that's where he saw the most amazing organisms, creatures, fossils, and that's how he kind of started to feel all this. Now, some other people, okay? We have Lamarck, John Baptiste Lamarck. He was in the early 1800s, and he suggested that life evolves. He kind of said that there was an inheritance of acquired traits with the giraffe neck, all right? And that's kind of what he was seeing with the whole idea of evolution. So he kind of felt the giraffe's neck lengthens so it stretches so it could reach and reach and reach higher trees. And again, that's a little bit of misconception. Yeah, there was a giraffe that had a higher neck, and he was the one that was able to eat, and he survived and so forth. Okay? Again, Lyell was the guy who came up with the book about how natural forces change the Earth's surface. Well, at the same time, Alfred Wallace, and this was in the mid 1850s, he was kind of convinced that evolution was occurring. And he wrote different papers, and he did show them to Darwin. He doesn't seem to get much credit, but again, he did arrive at the same conclusions as Darwin, and he also should be credited. Okay, so this is what Darwin looked like. Okay, some more pictures of Darwin. A little more comic of Darwin. His book, and you could get this on, I had a kid that once got it on his iPhone. This is Lamarck, John Baptiste Lamarck, but this is the guy with the giraffe neck. And this is the Charles Lyell, which was the book that explained how the whole Earth changed. And that was Wallace, the one that came up with the same ideas about evolution. Okay, so what is evolution? Evolution is the biological process that ties all the species together. It's a change through time. Just to kind of give you an example, like the bones in our middle ear have evolved from bones that were originally part of the jaws of our ancestral fish that lived long before the four-legged animals ever set forth on land. So there's a gradual change through time. Okay, Darwin has given us the term natural selection. Natural selection is what we call survival of the fittest. Those members of the population that has the most successful adaptations to their environment will survive and they will reproduce. So we call it survival of the fittest because they are the ones that are successful. They survive, they reproduce. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are, most athletic, the most muscular, and so forth. Okay, and this is just giving you a little idea of how natural selection has taken place and given us a lot of the canines that we have. And this is another comic. Okay, so what we're going to talk about are three different types of selection. we have stabilizing selection, we have directional selection, and we have disruptive selection. Just so you can see, the stabilizing selection, okay, is going to favor the intermediates, okay, kind of like human birth weights, okay. The directional selection kind of shifts it, okay, so it's going to favor one of the extremes, okay, and maybe that would be like insects, and then spraying insecticide on them. Okay, the last one is disruptive or diversifying selection, and you can see here that it does favor the extremes and does not like the intermediate. All right, and this is probably due to the environmental conditions that vary so much. Okay, so just to kind of give you words for all that, stabilizing selection again favors the intermediate variants. Directional selection will shift the overall makeup of the population by acting against an individual at one of the extremes, so it favors one of the extremes. Disruptive selection is going to favor individuals from both extremes, and that is because of the varying environmental conditions. So this is just showing you the graphs again, and you can see how it would change from the original population. Again, just the same graph again. All right, so natural selection doesn't produce perfections, okay? Organisms are limited by historical constraints. Adaptations are typically compromises to the environment, and pretty much chance and natural selection do typically interact together. So selection really can only edit existing variations. And again, it does happen gradually through time. There is one other thing that we could talk about. It's called artificial selection. Artificial selection is when a breeder takes a particular trait and then they breed those individuals with those traits. So it is very deliberate. And it doesn't happen naturally. And again, these are things that breeders or scientists will actually take and breed more. Maybe there's going to be a hen that lays better eggs, so they're going to keep breeding those hens so that they get more hens that lay better eggs, or more cows that give off better milk, so they'll breed those with that. And this is just showing you from the wild mustard plant. We have gone through and made cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, broccoli rabe, cauliflower, kale, and so forth. Okay, and that is all because of a part of the breeder or scientist has modified that. Okay, so just real quick, we're going to just talk a little bit about simple evidence that has kind of gone through and explained evolution and natural selection. So we're first going to talk about the Galapagos Islands. Okay, and then we'll talk about the finches on the Galapagos Islands, and then we will talk about the peppered moths. Okay, so the Galapagos Islands are located on the equator west of Ecuador. It's about 600 miles west of South America. All right, pretty much the islands originated because of volcanic eruptions that occurred about 3.3 million years ago. Now, organisms that are found there can only reach the islands by swimming, flying, or drifting on rafts of vegetation, let's say. Okay, so today there are 2 species of mammals, 7 species of reptiles, and 20 species of birds. There's the giant land tortoises, iguanas, birds, things that are found nowhere else on Earth. Okay, so Darwin stopped there when he was on his voyage and he saw all this, and it's quite impressive. All right, and again, this is just showing you Darwin's voyage. Some more pictures of the Galapagos Islands. This is a blue-footed booby that would live on the Galapagos Islands. Again, the blue-footed booby. The tortoise, giant land tortoise. Again, just showing you how large they are. This is a frigate bird. Okay, so again, on the Galapagos Islands were these finches. We call them Darwin's finches. just so you're aware, there are species that feed on the ground, there are species that feed in the trees, and there are species that feed in the bushes. All right, pretty much they all have similar bodies, but their beaks are quite different in size and shape. And pretty much it was said, and you can see that each shape of the beak is an adaptation to a particular food source. All right. So they probably had a common ancestor, but again, they had to survive and figure out what to eat. And that has allowed over time the evolution of the different species of finches so they can adapt to their environment of food. Again, this is just showing you the finches. Okay. We also are going to talk about the peppered moth. Okay, and we will be doing different activities on the peppered moth. All right, so pretty much this guy named E.B. Ford observed natural selection in action as he saw birds feeding on dark-colored moths on light-colored trees and light-colored moths on dark-colored trees. Okay, so before the Industrial Revolution, the trees in England were very light colored. They had light colored barks, there was lichens on them. So most of the moths were light colored. Well, every once in a while there was a dark colored moth because of a mutation, and obviously that would become eaten because you could see that more. Well, as the Industrial Revolution occurred, it started to darken the trees. So the light colored moths stood out, and the dark colored moths started to be more camouflaged and survived. So again, this was something that was able to be observed when the Industrial Revolution was occurring. And again, it was a gradual change over time, and it was natural selection. These are some videos we will see in class, and if you want, you could definitely come on those and look at those. Okay, and just in general, we have two terms. We have microevolution and we have macroevolution. Microevolution is going to refer to changes that occur within populations and species, like the peppered moth. Macroevolution is evolution above the species levels. It kind of results in the appearance of a new species. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know. We'll be doing a bunch of labs on natural selection, and you'll be able to see that in class when we do those. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks.